You ever just go walking at night? Don't get me wrong. I guess it depends on where you live and what kind of schedule you keep. But to me, nighttime is when all the bad guys come out, right? Like if there was a time to walk, don't get me wrong, it cools off from the hot days and stuff like that. And night walks can be actually pretty cool. You know, you walking with friends downtown or something like that, and the weather's really good. It feels great. I don't know about going like just walk down my road, especially because I kind of live in the ghetto. Whatever, guys. This is from Nightmare Tales, you guys. And sorry if I'm a little nasally. Allergy season and all that stuff. Anyway, we're going to get into this reaction. Make sure to subscribe to Nightmare Tales. Subscribe to me if you like reaction videos. And let's get into this one. The Night Walk. Hear that sweet sound?
An old suspension bridge was the only path residents of a small Bosnian village could use to reach the main road which connected them to civilization.
Oh, those bridges have
Under
always
the bridge,
creeped me
the
out,
flow
man.
of the Saint River moved rapidly as it ran down from the mountaintops, even during hot summer days.
Suspension
The
bridges
deep
above
crystal
water
blue
like
water
that?
remained icy cold as it carved its way down into the valleys below. No one knew how deep the river truly was, except a few adventurous divers who kept it a secret.
Right.
Which further fed the veil of mystery that surrounded the place. Taking a break while studying for his bar exam, Brandon felt he could use a walk. His back felt cramped up, while the tension in his headache pressured him relentlessly. He took off his glasses, hoping it would help him to blink more, and moisturize his eyes, which proved to soothe his symptoms of short-sightedness. As he walked outside of his house, he felt a bit chilly, since it was already late October.
Right.
The air felt cold as the wind blew in from the north. He strolled past a few neighboring houses and made his way down to the bridge. He loved the feeling of the bridge cables moving around as he paced over the wooden planks, which he noticed were rotten in some parts.
What?
Brandon used to stand on the bridge while observing birds who flew over the river.
Why would you?
Deep down inside, he envied their freedom.
Oh my gosh, I
As he
would
approached
never.
the bridge, he hoped he could catch glimpses of the blue hour, right before the night sky starts to take over the horizon.
He was just going
He didn't hope to see any birds nor fishermen at this point of the evening, yet he looked forward to listening to the Saint's cold stream, which, in this part of the year, resembled the Arctic itself.
Wow.
While getting closer to the cables, he saw a man standing in the middle of the bridge,
this bridge looks
right at his favorite spot.
Relatively strong.
From a distance, he couldn't see his face,
what I was thinking
yet the silhouette looked as if the man was wearing a dark robe that dragged on the planks. The man lifted his head at a glance,
a Grim
but
Reaper
the
on the
hood
bridge.
covered his face. Brandon couldn't see what was in the man's hand, but it looked like he was imprinting something on the bridge fence.
Ah.
An unsettling feeling of trembling discomfort ached through Brandon's body, so he decided to change his plan and instead take the nearby route through the lower woods, which would then lead him to the creek below.
Don't mess with them
From
creepy
here,
people, man.
he would be able
Especially
to
on
observe
bridges.
the river and still remain out of the view of the hooded man above. He turned away, leaving the mysterious man to his business. The route to the fisherman's spot was overgrown and not easily passable at this time of year, so he moved with caution,
Especially at
steadily
night.
pacing his steps so he didn't end up tripping in the grass.
Crazy? With no flashlight
The
or
sky
anything?
was starting to black out, while the woods were disturbingly silent. He slowly marched his way through, avoiding the occasional low branch. Even under the late fall temperature, he could feel the sweat on his neck. The pleasant sound of the creek started to echo in the distance.
It seems really peaceful, but what happens if you trip on a
he
root
felt even more disturbed than before.
and bust your head open? At
the
night,
end of the pass,
in the middle of the woods by
he saw
yourself.
some small flames flickering in the distance.
Somebody make
His
a
heart
little
began
fire.
to pound as he was expecting to be alone in the darkness at this hour.
Somebody's camping,
He
man.
felt cowardly enough for already backing
But
down
this is
from
a
the
horror
bridge,
story.
so he decided to continue ahead. After a couple of meters, the branches were behind him, and the grass was replaced by solid soil and rocks.
So
Right before the creek, on the very shore, he saw 3 men in dark robes with torches in their hands.
Right.
The flames made a devilish glint on the water,
A little cult?
and what he saw next disturbed him to the core.
What are they doing?
On the ground, there was a
Oh!
half-naked man with a skinny rib
It
cage
is
tied
some
down
sort
to
of
pegs
ritual.
in a rectangular shape. His motionless body was covered in blood, while Brandon was unable to see his face since it was covered by a bloody cloth.
Gosh.
Brandon began to shake as men started to lift their torches and walk circles around the body.
They have
They were
some
chanting,
sort of ritual.
"The water will cleanse you." He held his breath, not knowing what to do. One of the men pulled a dagger out from underneath his robe,
Oh no.
and Brandon only barely managed to suppress his scream. He had neglected to bring his phone, so he couldn't call the police. Instead, he just stood in complete frozen terror,
Are you crazy?
witnessing what seemed to be a ritual sacrifice.
You better get the heck
In a
out of
split
there,
second,
bruh.
before the man lifted his dagger, the water was violently disturbed by a small vessel which grounded itself at the shore. A fourth man, the one he saw on the bridge, jumped out from behind the boat. He took his hood off, showing the pale skin of his face, which was
got
covered
tats
in
all over?
tattoos. Even under a dark sky, Brandon could see his evil eyes just scanning around the shoreline. At that very moment, their eyes met. The discomfort he
better
had felt
run.
earlier on the bridge transformed into terror as the man swiftly stepped toward him at a rapid and threatening pace. Brandon's instincts kicked in. In an instant, he forgot about the poor man being held for sacrifice
You better get the
and
heck
started
out of there
fleeing
before
backward.
you turn into one of them
He could hear the breath
sacrifices.
of the man behind him as he ran through the bushes, while the nearby branches slapped him across the face. His lungs began to burn. He didn't have a lot of stamina, so in his mind, a couple of 100 meters felt like an eternity.
Oh my gosh.
He finally made his way out of the woods onto the path. The man in the robes was still behind him, so he turned left to the bridge since there were no nearby houses and no one to call for help.
Right.
The lack of oxygen started to manifest in Brandon's mouth. It felt dry and sore as he tried to close
Especially
the
if it's
distance
kinda
to the
cold.
bridge, hoping to reach anyone on the other side.
It starts hurting your chest, man.
Brandon, now having ceased running due to
Well, they said
exhaustion,
it was kind of warm.
walked on towards the
I don't
middle of the
remember.
bridge.
They said it was
As he
October.
looked behind
No,
him,
said it was October.
The man in the robes
He
had
caught up
started
with
to
him.
speed up again. When he came to the middle of the planks, he stood in disbelief and was overwhelmed with fear. He looked at the metal fence and read the imprint the man in the robes wrote not half an hour
What did he
ago.
write?
It was barely legible since it was carved by a blade.
Brandon McCain?
Yet he
Oh
was certain
no,
it
it's
read
him.
as Brandon McCain, 7th of August 1993
What
to the 20th of
heck?
October
It's like his death
2021.
date,
It was his name
which is today.
with the date of his birth,
Oh,
and he realized
This
as
is
the
his
man
birthday.
closed in on him holding a dagger, it would be the date of his forthcoming death.
wow. Fourth?
Before the man could swing
Oh.
his blade, Brandon forgot all about the legends of the saints'
It's like
depths and
third,
freezing
fourth? No.
temperatures. The river could be swamped with monsters for all he cared.
He jumped.
He lifted his right foot on the fence, and
Good
as the
idea,
man made
buddy.
his move, he evaded the blade that nearly penetrated through his heart
I mean,
by jumping off the bridge.
I would definitely take
As
the
the
jump
icy water
instead
splashed all
of
around
the,
him,
the
his
dagger.
blood circulation began to go wild.
I guess so.
He had just enough time to look up and see the man in the robe still observing him.
There's only one way
And
to
after
survive
that,
this.
He tried to stay up, but the bitterly cold stream pulled him down,
Man.
and his body began to tremble from the incredible pain that consumed his entire being.
Well,
He then involuntarily closed his eyes, never to
he
open
just
them
accepted it.
again.
Just accepted it. Dang. Well, I mean, would you rather jump in the river and die from hypothermia? Or get stabbed to death? Or potentially just get stabbed enough to be wounded and turn into some sort of sacrifice in their ritual? Right? A rock, a hard place, and a terrible place. I would have took my chances jumping too, I think. That's me. This is a beautiful, beautiful animation, guys. Nightmare Tales. Make sure to subscribe to him. Subscribe to me if you like reaction videos too. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off. We'll see you next time.